Your ACL is one of your 4 primary ligaments in your knee. These ligaments act like strong ropes to hold the bones together and keep your knee stable. Your ACL and PCL are the 2 cruciate ligaments that are found inside your knee. They cross each other to form an X, with the anterior cruciate ligament, ACL, in the front and the posterior cruciate ligament, PCL, in the back. The anterior cruciate ligament runs diagonally in the middle of the knee and prevents the tibia from sliding out in front of the femur, and also provides rotational stability of the knee. The ACL can be injured in several different ways. These include changing direction rapidly, stopping suddenly, slowing down while running, landing from a jump incorrectly, or a direct contact or collision, such as a football tackle.
A restart, we're going. Okay. All right, my name is Amanda Sagasser, and I am the Certified Athletic Trainer at Bainbridge High School.
My name is Kepler Delanoy.
All right,
Gordon Delanoy.
Hi, I'm Katie Olson. I'm 17 years old, and I play for the BHS girls soccer team and BIFC.
My name is Emma Adcock. I'm a junior, 17 years old. I go to Bainbridge Island High School, and I play volleyball.
I don't know, like when I was like 5.
I first started playing when I was 11 years old. I started with rec teams and then quickly started to get involved with our club, school volleyball on the island, and played with them for a couple of years.
I started playing probably around the age of 4 or 5.
That's a good turn. How do you feel about the number of ACL injuries that have occurred on the girls' soccer team?
It's bad. It's really bad. It's terrible. So sad.
Your thoughts and prayers go out to their families?
My thoughts really do go out to everyone, including you and your niece.
Shut up. Isabel! How do you feel about the number of ACL injuries that have occurred at BHS?
Not good.
How about you, Olivia?
Think about what? Concussions?
ACL injuries at BHS, how do you feel?
Miss Amanda, but bad.
Football, soccer, basketball are the ones that we see ACLs most often.
June 15th last year, so in a couple days it'll be a year. Just at soccer practice, I was defending, and so I was running towards the goal that I was defending, and I turned super sharp and felt a pop in my knee. Not super drastic, but it was enough, so.
Sometime in October, basically I was running and I pivoted directions and my knee just went pop, and then it made a big snap noise and I just started rolling around on the ground.
Beating the body of the allegations.
It didn't hurt, to be honest, when it popped. Like, I just felt something, and then when I started, when I turned, I remember thinking like, oh, that was kind of a sharp turn, felt odd. But I didn't notice anything until I started to walk around after that.
Bad, or do you
Well, I don't know, because I'd never been super badly injured before, so I kind of thought it hurt really bad, but I'd be better in a couple days.
No, I actually wanted to keep playing because I didn't think anything was wrong. I was like, oh, I'm an easily hurt person, I guess. So I get injured a lot, but it's never really been anything super serious. So Lucy Rector actually was the one who told me to get off the field and just go sit down. But once I started walking around after I turned, it was buckling a lot, and I could tell something was wrong, but I don't think I realized how serious until I woke up the next morning and couldn't walk.
Oh, ACLs at BHS, I would say at least, 7 to 10, somewhere in there, in 10 years. That I was a student, and then the 4 years prior to when I was a student, when I worked in an athletic training room as like an aide, I would say I've probably seen at least 20 to 25.
It occurred October 4th. So it was about midway through the high school season. We were at Olympic High School. It was an away game. It was the 5th play of the game, so like it was the beginning, and there was a wild pass. I'm a setter, and so my job is to get the second ball, and so I went to go get the ball, and I jumped, and they think that I twisted in the air to avoid the pole, and so when I came down and landed, my knee just, and yeah, couldn't get up. I did not think ACL. I just thought that maybe I had dislocated my knee. In the beginning, I thought that I just had the wind knocked out of me because I've never had a sports-related injury. I've never sprained my ankle, rolled my ankle. I've been fine. And so when I couldn't get up, I was like, shoot. And I think I knew that it was bigger than just like a hit to the knee. So I was definitely upset, and my whole thing was like, I want to get back on the court now. Like, wait, when can I get back in the game? Like, I wasn't even thinking about like being out the.
So there's not really a lot that you can do like in the moment. So kind of the first thing, if it's an on the field situation, when I get out there and they say it's their knee, the ACL is always the first thing that I check. What happens when someone tears their ACL is the muscles start to guard around the joint. So if you don't check that ACL almost immediately, there's a chance that their muscles are all going to tighten up and you won't be able to really test it. You could get a false negative, false positives really don't happen that much with ACLs, but you could get a false negative where you're like, oh, this really isn't moving, but that could be to their like muscles tensing up. So I usually ask them like, did you feel a pop? And if they say yes, then we test that ACL just right on the field with like a Lockman's test. That's kind of the gold standard. In the moment, there's really not a lot to be done. I think a lot of my time when I'm pretty positive that a kid has an ACL is dealing with the parents and convincing them not to take their kid to the emergency room because there's nothing that they're going to be able to do there. They're just going to do an x-ray and be like, nothing's broken. And it's like, we know this. Well, so I was kind of like, so I wasn't at Olympic because it happened at Olympic High School. Luckily, Olympic High School has the athletic trainer that's been at his school the longest, like in Kitsap County. He's been there about 30 years. Scott Peck, he's one of my mentors. So I knew like she was in good hands, like because he called me to let me know. And they did go to the emergency room because of how much pain she was in. So Scott thought there might be a fracture involved because of how much pain Emma was in.
They told me that I should go to the ER and get it checked out because they were worried maybe about bones, so getting an x-ray. We went to the nearest ER and we waited there for a long time.
We actually thought that there might be something more with Emma's, which is why she went. It was really a scramble that night because it was during the period of time where all the emergency rooms were so like overloaded. So I was actually on the phone between Scott at Olympic, Emma's mom, and our team doc trying to figure out how can we quickly get her in and not have to make her wait at the emergency room for hours and hours. I don't think Dr. Brown even had a good solution. He just said, you know, what we all knew. He said they could take a risk and go to Gig Harbor, and it might not be as long of a wait, but we really didn't have any other solutions.
The ER is it's not a good place. I think I initially left the building at 2 a.m. After a few hours, they were able to get me an x-ray. They told me there was no swelling, which was BS, but we won't talk about that. I don't know, I guess they kind of wanted me out of there.
The x-ray came back clean, so then at that point it was just a matter of like, is it ACL?
So they just told me that I had like a subluxation, that everything would be okay, that I could start walking on it in 2 days. They gave me crutches, sent me on my way. A couple of days went by and I still was walking really weird and my knee kept popping in. It was like, whoops.
So then when Emma came to see me, I can't remember if it was the first or second time I kind of tugged on that ACL because by now, this was after the fact, right? This was like at least 24, 48 hours later. I can't remember if she came in directly the next day, if it was the day after. But so it was like maybe tug 1 or 2 on the ACL and I was like, okay. Like in my brain, I kind of knew like, yeah, I'm really worried about that ACL, but it wasn't as clear as like normal ACLs when you can get to them like right away. It was still kind of like, I think so, but this one is truly one that we're just going to need an MRI.
And of course, like I had been in contact with Amanda, like we'd been talking the whole week, and she told me to go talk to Dr. Brown. And so the home football game on Friday of that week, so I think the game was Tuesday, so Friday, we sat down in the middle of the football game and he tested me and he told me that he was really worried about my ACL. He basically told me, and so he recommended an MRI. I got an MRI. And Miss Amanda and I, we looked at it in here actually before I even checked with my surgeon, and she was like, yeah, it's ACL. And Dr. Brown called, he said it was ACL, possible meniscus. So that's like the whole story. It took a long time before we found out, and about 2 weeks after my injury, I was able to meet up with my surgeon.
And then after that, I mean, she was really, after the surgery, I mean, everyone goes to PT, so I really didn't have to be super hands-on. Luckily at BHS, we live in a community where people have access to good health care, and so I don't take on as much of the responsibility of having to like do the rehab and like all of that.
I don't know. I knew I wouldn't be able to play this season, and this is my last season, so I'm kind of like done. But I don't know. I feel like if I want to play in college, like intramurals, it's gonna be kind of like a little bit nervous for me to go because I'm like worried I don't want to re-injure it or something.
I went home because, again, I get injured a lot, so it's usually like a ice and elevate, you'll be fine. But I went to the doctor the next day. A lot of fears. The rest of my high school career was kind of in question. Depending on how long it took me, I knew I could be out for quite a bit.
My initial feeling was like being devastated, honestly. So, well, you know, I was talking to some of my friends, and my whole thing was, I'll be back like that Monday. You know, like I'm gonna be back, guys. I'm gonna be back the next game, next practice. And so, like hearing that it was gonna be months, a year, I was like, yeah, no, that's actually not happening. Because in my mind, I'm like, no, I'm fixing that. Like, that's not happening. You know, we're gonna make this fast. I started doing physical therapy about 2 hours, two days a week. I'm doing it 3 days, 3 hours a week now, because it's just conditioning.
Go to PT 2 times a week. Yeah, and I've been doing that for like the whole time. Complete tear, and I tore my meniscus partially.
I was in physical therapy for 10 months. It's the only rehab I did. They told me surgery or no surgery, and if I didn't want to do surgery, I could do PT. But I was just trying to get back as fast as possible, so I chose the route which I thought would take the least amount of time, which actually takes about the same amount of time.
It was a hamstring graft. They sawed apart my hamstring.
Like it was a hamstring graft. My surgeon said that they were just gonna go in there and fix whatever needed to be fixed. So meniscus, I ended up having to get a lateral and medial meniscus repair. Thank goodness, fortunately, it wasn't that bad. They didn't have to trim it, which is what you don't want to do. They just stapled it down, and yeah. So lateral medial meniscus, hamstring graft. No, it was full-on surgery because it was a full rupture, completely torn. I remember Miss Amanda's like, so it looks like a bomb went off in your knee. So there was no like finding a loophole. It was surgery all the way. So I did a lot during that time, and I still am doing a lot. I got my surgery October 26th, so pretty fast after my injury, which is super lucky. I remember I was super drugged up after. Yeah, it was not fun. The first like 2 weeks after surgery is like torture, and it's terrible and just so much pain. Lots of pain meds. I was in a machine for 4 hours every day. It's a CPM machine. It helps with flexion, and so it like slowly moves in and out, flexion and extension, because it's super important for ACL athlete patients to get their extension to 0 as fast as you can. They say about 6 weeks, so completely flat, or else you're going to build up scar tissue and you're not going to be able to extend it anymore. So I was doing that for 2 weeks, then I stopped that and was able to go into physical therapy. I started running at 6 months. It's patient because you don't want your knee to swell up, because when it swells up, then you can't do exercises.
Like be able to do all the stuff I was able to do before, and so like the only way you can do that is if like you put in the hard work at PT, and sometimes like you're tired or something, but like you have to realize this work you're doing at PT like just is directly impacting you and your ability to like do stuff again. So I don't know, motivation.
Do you, looking back at like surgery and the options you could have taken at the start of the journey, do you wish you had taken the surgery option?
Right now, yes, because it took the same amount of time pretty much, and I now, because I didn't do surgery, run the risk of further tearing my ACL or my meniscus or anything else in my knee. So, yeah, I do regret it.
Honestly, it's just like a sport for me. Like that's kind of stupid to say PT is a sport, but it takes up as much time as volleyball would have taken up. Definitely has affected like the maybe possibility of wanting to play in college or anything like that, because your junior year is really important. And like obviously I'm out for 9 to 12 months.
Didn't really know. I mean, I expected to like till summer, but since I'm going to college, I don't know if I'm gonna have to keep doing, like find someone to do PT where I'm going, or just do like stuff by myself while I'm there to like continue doing PT. Didn't really think I'd have to do it as long as I have already, but I'm still going, so.
It definitely affects me a lot. I hate to admit it, but I feel like every day after PT, I'm just super frustrated and disappointed and upset, because all I really want to do is play volleyball. Like, I'm kind of sick of doing the same things over and over, and you know, I have my exercises at home that I have to do, and yeah, I can't wait to be done. I just feel like there's no sugarcoating it. It's not really a joyful experience, but you know, you move and it's life. And I found like things that I love about PT and opportunities that I've gotten that I wouldn't have gotten before. I coached the 7th grade woodwork team for volleyball, and that was super awesome. I've made lots of friends in physical therapy, and yeah, I'm about 7 months, 1 week in, and yeah, just chugging along. They're saying it's going to be about a year. But.
Do you think this injury has like changed you?
Oh yeah, it definitely has. Mentally, obviously, physically as well. The fact that I'm stronger now, it's kind of cool. But it's definitely changed my mindset on life. I know that's like kind of cringy, honestly. Now that I say that, like, I don't know, but I mean, it has. It's kind of taken away a year of my life with volleyball and just with different things, and having to be concerned about what I'm doing, or like having to make sure I know what's like happening in the day so that I can like prepare for certain things. And obviously like I'll wake up one morning and my knee's inflamed and I'm like, what the heck, and have to deal with it. So it's changed my routine, but I've gotten used to it. So.
How long did you think rehab was going to take originally?
Like 3 months.
Yikes.
Yeah. It's difficult to keep myself like, because I thought it was going to take such a short time, and when it didn't, and I didn't know how long it was going to take, it was difficult to like keep myself motivated to keep going to PT and doing the hard work to recover, because I didn't see a return to soccer. I played it for so long before I got injured that it didn't become work to me necessarily, but it was, yeah, it wasn't as fun as it is now for me, just because, I don't know, I wasn't appreciating it as much because I'd been doing it for so long. But after not playing for almost a year, now I come back and I look at soccer practice as something really exciting and fun to do and something that I look forward to throughout the week.
They return, because that's a scary time too. People kind of forget about that. They're like, yay, you did your 9 months of recovery, yay, time to play your sport again. And then people kind of, that can be very scary because, you know, especially if they injured it like doing their sport, it can be really scary to go back. A second ACL injury to the same one is not uncommon.
The daily activities are getting a lot easier for me, but it's interesting you bring that up because one of my biggest worries is going back to volleyball in the fall and playing not at 100%, you know, and feeling like I'm going to tear it again. I think, yeah, that's just going to be a mental obstacle that I'll have to get over, but I was able to get over the like daily activities mental block, so with time. If I'm able to return, like, I'll be the strongest I've probably ever been. Like right now, I'm the most in shape I've ever been in. I'm just hoping that, I know I'll be rusty with some technique, but I'm hoping that the new strength that I've accumulated will help me.
And then in December, I was feeling better and I was walking in the snow. And then my right knee, my non-injured one, like sunk and it caused my injured one to like bend super fast. And then like, I was like super swollen and it hurt really bad. So I had to go and get another MRI, and then that like put me back like another month. But I didn't tear it again, and yeah, it was just like something like the bones hit each other really fast or something, I don't know.
You've started doing mountain biking again, right?
Not at the same level.
Not the same level.
I can go, it's more like just riding for endurance, whereas before I do like jumps and stuff like that, but they're worried if I step off and plant my foot, if I like crash or something and it twists, that I'm still not ready to like handle that.
I was back for about a month, starting in April, I think, and then we had State Cup beginning of May, and our semifinal game, I went in for not a tackle, but just trying to block someone off on the other team. And I didn't turn, that I remember. It wasn't as memorable as my original injury, and I didn't feel any pop. I came off the field and I definitely thought that I had re-torn it or further torn it because it was about the same level of pain as last time. I think the confidence problems were probably more during physical therapy because towards the end of physical therapy because I hadn't done movements in a really long time, and when you go back to doing them, it's, I don't know, your muscle memory is kind of gone, and trying to get that back while also being very cautious about your knee is difficult to do. I fully came back and returned 100%. I was cleared from PT, but before I was cleared from PT, I was probably doing a little bit more than I should have, which I don't think was bad. I mean, I knew like my limits of what I really could and couldn't do, but I do think actually that it helped me get cleared faster and helped me return faster. So I think that kind of not doing like my own PT for myself, but more like kind of getting myself there faster and ahead of time actually helped more than hurt.
I think that's pretty accurate. When it comes to ACLs, I tend to want to be very conservative, and so I try to tell athletes, do your 9 months. Like, but I also don't want to like disregard the research and the science, but ACLs, that's just something that you don't want to return too quickly and then end up in a situation where you've torn it again.
Well, I'm at 7 months and I'm not fully healed. I feel like 6 months is a bit of a stretch. That's a reach. Obviously, my injury is pushed back a little bit because of my meniscus, but I feel like 6 to 9 months is a bit outrageous and not accurate. But I never actually heard 6 to 9 months. It was always 9 to 12.
Well, it's been 9 months, and I can still feel my knee, and I'm not done yet. I guess it changes from person to person, and it all depends, like how bad your tear was, and like how serious you are about the recovery and stuff. Doctor officially clears you after like 12 months, but if you're not feeling like good, like you're not ready to jump back into everything like full on, I guess.
Not. It's very not true, in my opinion. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there who have recovered quickly, but I took 10 months and I did not have an extreme tear. I didn't even have a full tear. So from my experience of having multiple teammates and friends who have fully torn their ACL and had surgery, they've taken more than 6 months. 9 months is closer, but 6 months is super not realistic.
But that's pretty accurate. 6 to 9. It really depends on the athlete. It depends on the rehab. But if it were my child, like I would be pushing for that 9-month mark. Like I'd be like, we're not going, especially if they play a sport like soccer, basketball, volleyball, football. I mean, my kid would never play football, but if they do a sport like that, then I'm pushing for the 9-month mark, and it makes me nervous when our athletes come back sooner than that. It's only like I said, I can't think of a reoccurring ACL case that we've had where a kid has torn it more than one time. I can think of other surgical ones where they've redone it, but so I don't think it's as common as it used to be, but it does happen, and yeah.
Everyone thought I was an idiot because I had crutches. And also, I don't know, like, I feel like a lot of my social life was based around like playing soccer with people, going skiing, going biking with people. So, I mean, I couldn't do any of that, so I had to just find like new things to do with other people. I felt like it didn't really affect my relationship I had, or like the relationship I had with the teammates who I was close with. But like the teammates who I wasn't really close with, I just like haven't talked to them since. I don't know, it was like kind of depressing at first when like for like a month I was just like sitting watching TV like all day, every day.
Has your view on soccer changed, like since you have like appreciation and stuff like that?
Oh yeah. Couple times like I'd be like, oh God, like I don't want to go to practice today, but now I like really miss going to practice and all that stuff. And I don't know, especially with going to college too, it's like you won't get that again, that same experience with the players and the coach.
It happened like the evening of the last day of school, so didn't actually have to come to school until September. But social life, I wouldn't say too bad. It was just difficult to get around everywhere I was going and do things that I used to enjoy doing. I tried to stay as involved as possible because I didn't want to just kind of drop off the face of the earth, and I didn't know how soon I was going to be able to return, so I was just trying to stay as connected as possible. So for high school season, when I wasn't able to play, I became team manager of the varsity team, and then for the end of the club season, I just kind of came to games and practices and did what I could, but mostly socialized. Probably not, but I don't think that there's a very big level difference between how I was playing before and how I'm playing now.
Well, my big goal is to come back for senior season in the fall. That's my goal right now. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Day by day. Obviously, like I'm definitely like college is out. If that's what you're trying to infer as well, like I'm not. No, like.
Did you ever have hopes of playing college? Like
Everyone
intramural
does, right?
or- yeah.
Everyone does. Yeah, I did, but.
I think for both biking and soccer, do you ever think you'll get back to the same level you're at before the injury?
I think so. I hope so.
I would like to play recreational soccer in college if I can do that. Yes, because I mean I'm back, so if I hadn't done it, then I'd have to do PT either way if I did the not surgery. Should we leave that in?
Yeah, it's funny.
I mean, you have to do PT when you do surgery too. You have to do it before you go into surgery, and you have to do it after you come out of surgery. So I think either way, PT is definitely worth it because it's gotten me where I am. But it's definitely difficult.
I definitely took it for granted. I don't know, I just thought I was invincible and could never get hurt, but I feel like everyone thinks that, right? And so now I'm like, yeah, I definitely, I miss it. It was a big part of my life and definitely took it for granted. I think it's a little bit hard for them to like super grasp the fact that like I can't play. I feel like, you know, like they want to push me to be like the best version I can, like the best version of me, and so I think that it took them a second to realize that we just need to calm it down. My biggest advice is to stick to your program and to do your exercises at home. The majority of your recovery is what you do at home. That's what they say. That's what everyone says. Like, yes, obviously the work you do in PT, but it's what you do at home. It's how you feel your body. Icing, ice. I know Keith, one of my PTs, he's the best. He told me, he was like, you know, the more you ice, the more you can push. And so rest, ice, compression, maybe like rice is, yeah. All right.
Take PT serious and don't rush into things. Like I know it's been a long time since you've like done normal stuff, but the absolute worst thing that could happen is like try to do something early and then re-injure yourself and then have to go a whole nother year of recovery.
Find things to keep yourself busy outside of PT. It's difficult to move around, so you know, maybe crutching to baseball games isn't your first choice. But, you know, if you can find other ways that don't take extreme effort and find things that you enjoy, I think that's definitely helpful, especially if you're injured during summer and you don't have much to do.
A great support system, friends, family, my like team of surgeons, physical therapists. Everyone's always been super nice. The volleyball community has been really nice. Yeah. I think,
Like, what worked best for you when people were trying to help? Was it like words of like affirmation? Was it people like being like, you can do this? Or was it just kind of like people like including you more and stuff? Like not changing the fact that you had the injury?
I think that, and also just pushing me. You know, my physical therapist, like I always felt so good when they were like, let's just try it, you know, let's try it. If it works, it doesn't. And so we would push and we do really hard things. And I super appreciate that because I want to push, you know? And I feel like for people, just outsiders, like friends, family, I think the best thing is to just be mindful of it, that they're going through that. And you don't have to like bring it up all the time. Like it's just a normal injury, you know, happens to everyone.
For friends, still try to include your friend. Like, think of things you can do where they don't have to be like active. I don't know. I feel like my family was pretty supportive just by like being there and helping me, taking me to PT and caring for me when I was super drugged up, like after the surgery and stuff.
Help them find activities that they want to do and help them stay motivated to do their PT or whatever they need to do to get back, because I can tell you we don't want to do it because it's not fun, but you know, you see it from a different perspective, so you can help whoever is injured to keep going and keep them motivated.
All right, calm. I think that's all our questions. Pleasure doing business with you, sir.
Chill, bro. Especially if Kevin's bad at walking.
This is illegal. I did not consent this. You didn't have any contact.
That's really hard for Griffin.
No, it's really
That's not very nice.
Slowly look this way, slowly.
All right, calm.
ACL injuries suck.
I agree.
Say it.
ACL injuries suck.
How bad is a PCL injury then? Like,
That bitch you go last though.